Anticipate potential delays for the morning commute. In other news, a recent government report on prescription drug pricing points to corporate
Freedom of the press is about your right to know.
What are you talking about, man? Look at this stacks.
It's about your right to be informed. Your right to access all types of information keeps us free as a nation.
No.
Today, there are real threats to press freedom.
Reaching residential areas by...
And your right to know about the world around us.
Look.
Some threats are obvious, some are easy to miss, but they all put our way of life at risk. We must defend against all of these threats, no matter what kind of news is important to you.
Justified putting American troops in harm's way?
That's a great question.
We must protect our right to know before it's too late. Understand the threats. ProtectPressFreedom.org.
Anticipate potential delays for the morning commute. In other news, a recent government report on prescription drug pricing points to corporate
Freedom of the press is about your right to know.
What are you talking about, man? Look at this stacks.
It's about your right to be informed. Your right to access all types of information keeps us free as a nation.
No.
Today, there are real threats to press freedom.
Reaching residential areas by...
And your right to know about the world around us.
Look.
Some threats are obvious, some are easy to miss, but they all put our way of life at risk. We must defend against all of these threats, no matter what kind of news is important to you.
Justified putting American troops in harm's way?
That's a great question.
We must protect our right to know before it's too late. Understand the threats. ProtectPressFreedom.org.
I'm Ben Affleck, and I want to thank you for joining me in supporting Paralyzed Veterans of America.
I joined the Navy to serve my country as a Navy SEAL. While parachuting with my platoon, my parachute didn't open. I broke my neck. It left me paralyzed. Paralyzed Veterans of America was by my side from that moment on.
Since 1946, Paralyzed Veterans of America has kept a promise to our wounded veterans. We will never leave a fallen comrade behind.
Thanks to PVA, paralyzed veterans are getting specialized medical care and treatments, the benefits they've earned, the jobs they want, and the accessible vehicles and homes they need.
I just don't think my family would be as happy as they are without the support that I received from Paralyzed Veterans of America.
Our veterans fought for us. Let's fight for them.
To learn more, go to pva.org today.
You've messed up your son's haircut.
Mom?
Do you A, try to fix it?
Like it never happened.
B, work with what you got? Or C, show solidarity?
Thank you, babe.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes? B, console her?
Don't worry, sweetie. This is gonna happen a lot.
Or C, find her a new boyfriend?
Nice, single boys. That was weird.
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Hey, you.
Yeah, you. Getting that college education. What are you gonna do? Graduate and take some office job? Be like everybody else? Or will you dare do something different? Like be a teacher.
Be my teacher.
Be my teacher. You could be my teacher. You got the skills. The smarts. Yes, you. You could be the teacher I never forget. That'd be cool. Does that corporate job even have recess? We need more teachers. We need more great teachers. Teachers like you. What are you gonna make of yourself? What are you gonna make of me?
Thank you.
a king?
Go fish. In your face, in your face.
It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Welcome to Therapy Ain't No Joke. I am the architect, the one and only Sean Garvey. Thank you so much for tuning in to the first ever premiere of Therapy Ain't No Joke. 7 minutes after the top of the hour. I am so pleased and honored for you to tune in to this live taping of Therapy Ain't No Joke. We are not pre-recorded, ladies and gentlemen. We are not pre-recorded. This is live, and I am coming to you live from the ATL. That's right, folks. I am back in my native land, the ATL, Atlanta, of course, to be exact. You got to excuse some of the stuff that I have in the background here. So we're going to slide that away from the camera there because I want the setup to look pretty, to look at least a little bit decent for this world premiere of Therapy Ain't No Joke, all right? Therapy Ain't No Joke is the continuation of the mental space. And we are here to have in-depth conversations about mental health and mental health awareness. For those that are dealing with some form of mental health crisis, you can not only tune in to Therapy Ain't No Joke, but you can also contact and reach out to multiple resources that are out there standing by, willing to help you 24/7, 365 days a week. All right. Speaking of which, you can dial the Crisis and Suicide Lifeline 988 if you or someone you know is facing a mental health crisis. Once again, the 3-digit number, you should save this on your telephone, 988. Dial the Crisis and Suicide Lifeline 988 if you or someone you know is facing a mental health crisis, okay? You can also contact NAMI, which stands for the National Alliance for Mental Illness. To contact NAMI helpline, please call the number that you see at the bottom of your screen there. We're gonna blow it up just a little bit so you can see it very well. That is the National Alliance for Mental Illness helpline. Call them right now. Well, not this minute while you're tuning in to Therapy Ain't No Joke, but you can call them after the show, 1-800-950-NAMI. That's 1-800-950-6264. You can also send them an email to info@nami.org. Their operational hours are from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's Eastern Standard Time if you are in a different time zone, okay? So make sure you take advantage of the resources that are in front of you because we want to make sure that you or someone you know is in a great mental state or mental well-being, all right? Now, for those that may not know, I am Sean Garvey, 21 years in broadcasting, getting ready to hit my 22-year mark in the industry, of course. And you know my pedigree from 1380 WLK 2 years in the mental space, I have had the opportunity and the pleasure of bringing in so many great names, so many great people, influencers and community leaders, celebrities, and just different people, everyday people, to come on the show and talk about their mental health journey and what they are willing to do to overcome those issues, whether it's trauma, whether it's depression, isolation, suicidal thoughts, you name it. And for those 2 years, I feel like, looking back at it, I feel like I have done a service, not a disservice, but a service to the community and to the airwaves by presenting the first mental health-based program on terrestrial radio in Atlanta. Okay, that's just a little bit of facts there, right? But now that I am online, continuing the mission to help people with their mental health journey, and by bringing people on to have a conversation and why therapy is not a joke. You know, we are so used to looking at online content, YouTube and other places that you get your streaming and podcasts from. We sometimes see the disparity of how therapy is in conversations. And sometimes we can take it as a laughing matter. But in today's times, especially in this political climate that we're in right now, some of the stuff that you're seeing right now is the reason why therapy is not a joke. And I have a feeling that weeks before or after the election coming up in November, there's going to be a number of people that are going to think twice about seeing a therapist. That's one of the reasons why this show is called Therapy Ain't No Joke, because it's not a joke out here. It really is not. All right. So if you have been a avid listener to the mental space with Sean Garvey, at the beginning of each and all of my episodes, I like to do a breathing exercise before we get into some things. So let's do a breathing exercise. We're going to switch up the beat here. But let's do it all together, ladies and gentlemen. If you are going through a rough patch, a rough day, whatever you're dealing with in your life, if you are just coming out of a breakup, if you're just coming out of a marriage, if you're going through some form of divorce, or if you just got laid off from your job, if you're dealing with some type of financial issue, or even if you are having thoughts about taking your own life, I want you to do this quick exercise with me, okay? Let's all do it together under this beat. Courtesy of Ray Melody. All right, shouts to Ray Melody. Let's do it all together. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Breathe out. That's just a quick exercise that I want to encourage and employ everybody to do in their daily life if they are dealing with some form of stress, some form of anxiety, or whatever you're dealing with. Make sure you take a breather or two each and every day to help calm your nerves. Okay, I think that is very counterproductive that we all do it as a community, as a nation, and just as a collective to manage your well-being. It's been a very trying week, or I should say a trying past few days. I first and foremost want to acknowledge some of the most gifted and talented people we have had in the industry that are no longer with us in the physical spirit. And I'm going to put up the picture in just a few moments of the ones that we've lost. The legendary James Earl Jones, Batman Scoop, Rich Homie Quan, and as reported today, earlier today, by many reliable sources, Frankie Beverly of Frankie Beverly and Maze. So let's take a moment to have a moment of silence for these four bright, gifted men that are no longer here in the physical, but are always here in the spirit. All right, we just have to do a little bit of a silent reflection for the ones that we have lost in the entertainment industry. Okay, our thoughts and our hearts and our condolences to the family and friends of some of the most talented people we have witnessed in the entertainment industry for decades and decades. Okay, we also want to acknowledge the families and the victims of last week's massive school shooting that took place in Winder, Georgia. We want to do another silent reflection to the families and the victims, to the people that lost their lives in that horrible, tragic attack in the school building of Winder, Georgia. So let's take a moment of reflection for that. Silent reflection. I also want to take a moment to do a moment of reflection for the families that are still dealing with the tragic event from September 11th, 2001, which seemed that didn't happen. It seemed like it happened yesterday, but it happened in 2001, and families across the country are still dealing with it. This is the anniversary of the 9/11 attacks. And so we want to do another quick moment of reflection, a silent reflection for the people that not only lost their lives during the tragic events of 9/11, but to the first responders and to the people in the EMS community and for those that have been impacted and affected by the 9/11 attacks. So let's honor them and remember them as well. All right, just had to do a quick silent reflection and a moment of reflection for everyone that have experienced a loss. And I know what it's like to lose somebody, not only physically, but mentally as well. It becomes a mental thing where it stays with you for a period of time. And it not only affects you, but it also affects the people around you. And it's going to take a lot of therapy. It's going to take a lot of different resources and even time to really cope with losing somebody. We're not meant to be on this planet forever in the physical sense. But we always want to remember to always do what you are meant to do on this planet, whatever your purpose is, because tomorrow is not is not promised. Tomorrow's not promised for everybody. It's not for everyone. And while you're on this planet, you want to make sure that you do whatever you can to pay it forward. And that you treat people with kindness, with respect, the same way you want to be treated in return. Also, big shout outs to WQEE on the check-in. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we really appreciate it. Thank you so much, WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia. Thank you so much for checking in. All right. Also, I want to let everybody know that this show is membership supported and donation supported, okay? All right, I want to make that very clear because we have a lot of stuff that we want to make sure that we take care of in this new environment that I am in. Okay, so with that being said, there you go. Cash App, $ Reach One Communications to support the content. If you like shows like these and many others that we have on our network, make sure you show your love and your support by making a donation to Cash App, $ Reach One Communications. That's Reach One Communications, $. You got to make sure you put the $ next to Reach One Communications, so that way we will collect the proceeds to take care of everything that we need to manage behind the scenes, so that way we can continue to give you great content like Therapy Ain't No Joke. All right. So I know we were supposed to have our first guest for the evening, but I want to take a moment to talk to you a little bit about my 7-month run in Gainesville, Florida, and how it coordinates with my mental health. Okay, so I've been very candid when I was on terrestrial radio in the past about my mental health journey, about some of the things that I went through in both my professional life as well as in my personal life. And what I noticed about being in Gainesville, Florida, by the way, I was going to share this story with you on Soul Dates Live, but Soul Dates Live has finished wrapping up and is on hiatus at the moment, just in case anybody is wondering. But for those that may not know, I took a break. Not too much of a break, but I took a little bit of a break from terrestrial radio. We're talking about 7 months. 7 months of not doing any type of content pertaining to mental health. I had to attend to a few things in my professional life. I had to make a pivot, ladies and gentlemen, from doing media to doing something that brings out the humanitarian side of me. And I've been doing that for Homeland Security for 7 months. I am not obligated to fill you in on what I've been doing during the 7 months that I've been in Gainesville, Florida on a professional level. But of course, you've seen me do some shows and produce and hosted some episodes, whether it's Soul Dates Live or the Beat Break Morning Show with my brother, DJ Rollum. But I took a break. I took a break from doing anything with mental health shows. Of course, during the summertime, and I got to give credit when credit is due. Shout outs to the Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network, a very, very big and important organization based in Georgia. I took a trip to the central part of Georgia to not only get away, but to also participate in their 3-day conference on mental health awareness. I was one of the keynote speakers for the event, and I got to give them a shout out. I got to give them a shout out for inviting me as one of the keynote speakers to their event, because a voice was needed to share my story, to share my testimony, and what people can do to manage their mental health, their mental well-being. But back to Gainesville, Florida for a moment. I noticed that in Florida, or in Gainesville, because I never had the luxury of traveling to every city in the state of Florida. But while I was there, I noticed that the energy in Gainesville, Florida is totally different than it is in Atlanta. I told some of my peoples back home that, you know, some individuals that are used to the city life, that are used to the nightlife in Atlanta, they probably wouldn't last a week being in Gainesville, Florida. You know, to some people that are familiar with Gainesville, Florida, it is known as a college town. A lot of students from all over the world or all over the United States of America go down to Gainesville, Florida for the University of Florida, for the college. But the people in Florida, or in Gainesville, Florida, they were more so about community. They were not on this whole thing of, you know, how can I explain it to my viewers and my listeners out there? They were not on some, I have to live this luxury lifestyle to make it in a city like Gainesville, Florida. The people down there were not only welcoming, but they have this thing where less is more. I know you may have heard of that before, less is more, and it is, less is more. They are okay with not having a lot of stuff or a lot of things. They don't have to live in a big mansion, or they do not have to drive a very high-end car just to prove that they have made it, or to show some sort of symbolism of success. Because success comes in different ways. But the 7 months that I've been down there in Florida, I just received a whole different type of vibe compared to Atlanta. Now, you know me, I am an Atlanta baby, born and raised, Southside, Atlanta. And I've seen the economic and social change of Atlanta during my 40 years of being on this planet. Some for the good and some for the bad. But what does that got to do with my mental health, right? Because I know some of you all, some people out there watching and listening to Therapy Ain't No Joke. Some of you all are probably wondering, what does that got to do with my mental health, right? Sometimes people, we just got to get away. We just got to get away for a while. Get away from the hustle and bustle of the city life or the metropolitan environments, or we sometimes got to get away from certain people or certain groups or certain energies or whatever you've been accustomed to for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years or more. You have to go out and experience different things outside of the norm. you know, and sometimes, geographically speaking, your environment can make a major impact to your mental health. I've heard so many stories from different people who have said, you know, growing up in the hood, growing up in the ghetto, growing up in humble beginnings, and what I experienced and what I witnessed really played a major role in my mental health. Because from a toddler to a baby, or to your teenage years, to your childhood years, to your adult years, and all you have seen is things that are what you think is normal or negative. That's all you see on a daily basis is negativity, 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 negativity. Right? Not just only from what we watch on television and the media, but when you step outside of the door and you just see the same thing, you see the same thing over and over and over again. And even at times it becomes very traumatizing. And it does something to your mental. You thinking that there's no world outside of this. That's why you have to get out. You have to step away for a month or 2 months or 3 months. Whatever time period suits for you. You have to step outside of the box, step outside of your comfort zone or your element, and be able to travel and be able to experience different parts of the world. And so this particular place in Florida, I won't say it's a culture shock to me, but it's definitely something different than what I've been used to. I'm used to seeing the hustle and bustle every single day, going to the radio station and coming back from the radio station and going home to relax and unwind, or do some editing, do some producing, or do some hosting at some events and online. It's that grind, it's that grind, it's that grind, it's that grind, right? And so the first few months in, it was very challenging. I'm not going to lie, people, because I was very candid about that on social media regarding my health and other things. It was very challenging because it was the first time I was actually alone and I didn't know anybody down there. I don't have family. I don't have friends. I don't know these folks. You know, I don't know these people in Gainesville, Florida. This is all new to me. People, you know, are new to me. But then when you spend some time alone and you do some walking, you do some jogging like I've been doing down there in Florida, you know, I would say I have done a lot more walking and a lot more jogging than I did back home. But when you do some of that and you decompress and you get to know people down there in Florida, you kind of get a little bit comfortable, like, okay, you know, okay. But that's when that anxiety at some point comes out. And what I mean by that is the anxiety of not seeing your family, not seeing your friends, not seeing your acquaintances or your social circle for a long period of time. And I'm going to tell you guys, I'm going to tell you folks, 7 months seem like a year. It may not seem like a long time to you, but it seemed like a long time to me. 7 months being away from Atlanta and being down there in Florida by myself, just getting acclimated to my new environment. And I'm going to tell you guys something. I thought at first, I thought I was never going to be coming back to Atlanta. Let's just have an honest conversation, ladies and gentlemen. I thought that I was not going to come back to Atlanta. The plan was to move to Atlanta and to still do my content from my new environment. Now, don't get it twisted, ladies and gentlemen. Don't get it twisted. Florida is my second home. Look, let me show you how much Florida is my second home. I got the coffee mug here. Shout out to my coworker, my former coworker now, who blessed me with this coffee mug that says Beach Life Florida. I'm going to give you a close-up here so you can see it for yourself. Beach Life Florida. And I was about that beach life. I wasn't playing. Some of you all thought I was playing. But I was really about that beach life in Florida. And if you ever want to go and decompress and manage your mental health, I definitely encourage you to experience that beach life. That beach life is no joke. Just like therapy ain't no joke. If we are having an honest conversation. So back to my trip to Gainesville, Florida. I've met a lot of people down there that I am planning to still be in contact with. And I just want to say thank you to all the people, even the people that I worked with down there for this very important assignment that I was on for 7 months. I want to say thank you to them because they made me feel very appreciated. I almost want to cry on screen, but I'm not. I'm not. But even though this is a safe space, this can be very emotional, y'all. But I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to be honest with you guys. Can I be honest with you? Can I be honest with you guys in the first half of Therapy Ain't No Joke? Because this is a safe space and this is like a therapy session to me and maybe even to you while you watching us on Honey. By the way, I got to give a shout out to my own online radio TV platform, Honey. Make sure you check us out, Honey. Download the Honey app or tell somebody that you know to download the Honey app to their Roku TV. Get your Roku TV right now if you do not have one in your household so you can download the Honey app and watch Therapy Ain't No Joke by Sean Garvey. Also, big shout outs to the Flow Television Network. We are syndicated on the Flow Television Network. Shout out to Stephanie Starworth. You can check us out there as well as on Fire TV, Apple TV, Android TV, and other places where you get your streaming from. And we also have a YouTube channel, by the way. I'm going to display that on the screen in just a few moments. But yes, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. Subscribe at the Mental Space Show on YouTube. Become a subscriber right now. We only have 9 subscribers. Our goal by the end of 2024 is to have 500 or 1,000. Let's push it up just a little bit. Let's get it up to 1,000. If we can get 1,000 subscribers to the Mental Space Show on YouTube, that would be so great, y'all. All right, so make sure you go ahead and hit that subscription button, hit that subscribe button, like, comment, share YouTube at the Mental Space Show. And that's where we are broadcasting live from as well, too. So we all over Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. All the information is at the bottom of your screen there inside the ticker. But yes, the people down in Florida and my former coworkers, I felt like I was more appreciated and what I've contributed to the assignment than in my 21 years in broadcasting. That's what I said it, folks. I felt more appreciated than in my 21 years in broadcasting. Okay? I mean, you're talking to a guy who got many accolades, from ATL's hottest award nominee to being featured in the South Fulton Neighbor to being one of the honorees for the HR bill for men and women in radio. I mean, the list goes on and on and on, right? But like I told a friend of mine a few months ago during my tour in Florida, I said to him, I didn't feel like a public figure when I was down there. I felt like a regular person working a 9 to 5, still doing media on the side. But to these people, I was more than just a regular person. I was a person coming in to do what the Most High set me to do, which is to help people, and which is to put me in positions and in places to meet people and to network with people and to build with people that could benefit what I'm doing. And some of them are watching, by the way, too. So I want to give a shout out to those that appreciated me and the work that I contributed to during my 7-month run in Gainesville, Florida. I'm going to hit the applause button. You're not going to be able to hear it live on air, but you can hear it when we put this show up on demand on Spotify and on iHeart Podcasts. I am so looking forward to that. I just wanted to release that, ladies and gentlemen, because that is a part of my therapy. Therapy Ain't No Joke by Sean Garvey. That was a part of my therapy, people. Part of my therapy is getting out of Atlanta, getting out of the city, and getting away from the hustle and bustle of everyday life and going to a different kind of world where it's a diverse group of people down there. We're talking about people from the Hispanic community, from the Caucasian community, from the African American community, and the Asian community. I met so many different people with so many different stories. And I am just so happy that I had an opportunity to serve a purpose down there in Florida. And that's why I consider Florida to be my second home. It's not my first time going down to Florida. It's just the longest that I've stayed down there in Florida. But I am just so thrilled and so happy to get out of my own comfort zone and manage my own mental health, so that way I can discover a little bit more and more and more about myself, about who Sean Garvey is and who I am as a person, and just work on personal development. I feel like we don't do that a lot, right? We don't do that a lot in our healing journey, in our mental health journey. We don't work on our personal development. And what I mean by that is finding more things about you that you may not even know about yourself, and working on areas that you can improve in. And that's why therapy is so important, because, you know, many of us still in our community, we still say, oh, I don't need to see a therapist. I'm good. I don't need therapy. I'm here to tell you, yes, you do. Yes, you do. You need therapy. And whatever that looks like to you, whatever framework that looks like to you, you got to be consistent with it. I've talked to several people that gave therapy a shot, and they all said, it wasn't for me. You know, the therapist didn't help me. I felt like the therapist wasn't listening to what I was saying. And that may be true. You know, there are some good therapists, and then there are some not so good therapists. But the question is, are you doing the work? In these days and time of social media, of entertainment, of online content. See, the easy part is turning on that phone and clicking here and clicking there, or even watching my program and listening to people tell you all day and all night about mental health, about trauma, about this and about that. But after you tune out, because in some point in time, you are going to have to tune out to go to sleep or to attend to whatever you have to do outside of this big, gigantic media world. What are you going to do after that? Just like, what are you going to do after you leave your therapist's office? What are you going to do? Are you going to go back and do the same thing over and over and over again? Expecting a different result, but in return, you're just getting the same result? And how is that working out for you and your mental health? How is that working out? I'll wait. Just saying. Therapy ain't no joke. Sean Garvey. Don't forget to follow the show at The Mental Space Live on all social media, including Instagram. I'm sharing my story about my visit to Gainesville, Florida. And I wanted to show you guys this. I brought back some souvenirs from Florida, just in case you didn't check out the first part of the show or a few minutes ago. I was showing this coffee mug here that I got from one of my coworkers down there in Florida, Beach Life, Florida, because, you know, I'm about that beach life. But what I also picked up was this. Now, I can't show this part on screen, but this is a toilet stool that I picked up from a gas station once upon a time in Florida. And it has Florida on it, but for obvious reasons, I cannot show it on screen. But every time I look at this, it reminds me of Florida. Every time I look at this. So I thought it was neat. I thought it was funny. And I said, you know what? I'm going to pick up one of these and bring it back to Atlanta. And that's what I did. Around the toilet seat here, it says, rest your ash. Not the other word, but rest your ash. Wow. And speaking of the word rest, you know, that ties in with mental health as well, because a lot of times we need to sit down and rest. Do you know how important that is, ladies and gentlemen, to sit down and rest? And that was one of the reasons why I needed to step away from the mic for a while and step away from Atlanta for a while. I was just busy. I was just grinding, working. And I didn't take time to rest. I didn't take time to rest, y'all. Believe it or not, I didn't take time to rest. And rest is so very important because it helps you recharge your body, your brain, your mind, your spirit, your soul. And in this time of we have to do everything to compete and we have to stay within the trends of what's happening and stuff, we don't take the time to rest our bodies because we're so busy competing against each other or trying to be what success looks like. We don't take the time to rest. What happens when you don't rest? You have accumulated some diseases, some illnesses. You become sick. And when I told you all about my health scare in Florida on 2 occasions via social media, I realized that talking about it on the air was one thing. Talking about it on the air was one thing, but being about it was another. And I will admit, y'all, there have been times where I failed in that department. To be totally honest with you, I failed in that department. I wasn't doing what I told you all to do. Yeah. I was so on this whole thing of still being the hardest working man in media. Radio, TV, podcasts, you name it. I was so gun-ho on being and still being the hardest working man in media. But even at times, the hardest working man in media needs his rest. We're not all superheroes. We're not all, what you see on TV all the time. We're human. We're human. And we need our rest. I'm happy to be back in Atlanta. I miss you all. I know you miss me. And I just could not come back to Atlanta and not continue the mission on presenting mental health awareness. I know what I contributed to the radio community during my 2 years of doing that show. But I realized that this show is needed in our community. It's needed in these times of anxiety and trauma and isolation and loneliness and so many different things that we experience as humans, as people that wake up each morning just trying to get through the day or to figure things out. So this takes me it takes me full circle back to the theme of therapy ain't no joke. Therapy ain't no joke, y'all. It really isn't. It really isn't. Take it from somebody who have seen 3 therapists in the same year. 3 different perspectives. 3 different outlooks. And when you start to talk to more and more and more people, not only about your story, not only about your personal journey, but about yourself, it just does something. It brings a sign of relief, like, oh, this person put me in a safe space to be vulnerable and to allow me to be myself. It allows me to be myself and know that I am not alone and that it's okay to not be okay. We sometimes have to walk with a shield or some type of guard where we kind of hide who we are and our feelings inside and not be vulnerable because we are afraid or we are scared that somebody might look at us differently if we don't identify what the problem is or what issue we're dealing with. And if that person or that circle of friends or a group of people are not providing you with that safe space, then you need to change your circle. Change the people around you and bring those in that are going to allow you to be you and put you in that safe space for you to be vulnerable. That's all you have to do, y'all. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. It's just all a part of the growing process. Evolution. So, with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I am Sean Garvey, and this is Therapy Ain't No Joke by Sean Garvey. You can also follow me on Instagram at Sean Garvey ATL. That's Instagram, Sean Garvey ATL. We're going to take a quick break from the TV, and we're going to talk to comedian Darnell Morris. He got a couple of events coming up in the beautiful state, New York. If you plan to go up there to New York and visit, you want to check out a comedy show or two, Darnell Morris is going to talk about it live in just a few moments. He's also going to talk about his own mental health journey, because just like me, the brother's been going through some things. All right, so we're going to talk to him in just a few moments, ladies and gentlemen. And don't forget to send your love donation to Cash App $Reach1 Communications to support the content and many other shows under Honey. That is my Roku channel right there on the top of your screen there, Honey. So support the content, support the machine, and we will continue to send the love back. All right. So we're going to take a break from the radio. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, this show is dedicated to the ones that we have lost over the past few days, as well as the many victims and families affected by last Wednesday's massive school shooting in Winder, Georgia. All right. As well as the anniversary of 9/11, in which my good friend and brother Darnell Morris, who is in the green room, he's going to talk about how 9/11 affected him and more. So stay tuned. We will be right back. This is Therapy Ain't No Joke by Sean Garvey. Plus, we're going to switch things over to Brandy Gregory, which is a 3-day weather outlook for the city of Atlanta. All right. We'll be right back. Therapy Ain't No Joke right here on Honey and on the Flow Television Network. Brandy Gregory in the Weather Center with the 3-day weekend weather forecast. How's it going to look this weekend, Brandy?
Hello, my name is Brandy Gregory, and I am here to deliver that 3-day weekend weather update for the city of Atlanta. But before I jump into that, I would love to note that today's segment is sponsored by the Growing and Flowing podcast, actually hosted by yours truly. On my podcast, I love to connect my present-day experiences to my childhood to get a better idea of who I am, who I've been, and who I am becoming. So if you are interested, go ahead and give me a listen on any platform that you get your podcast on. And if you would love to support any of my future endeavors, go ahead and shoot me something over to my official Cash App. That would be $growing, the letter N, flowing pod. Now for that weather update. For Friday, we have a high of 77, a low of 66 with all cloudy skies. For Saturday, we have a high of 83, a low of 64 with all cloudy skies. And then lastly, for Sunday, we have a high of 82, a low of 64 with partially sunny skies. Again, my name is Brandy Gregory, and I'm with Podcast FM 87, home of the Beat Break Morning Show with Sean Garvey and DJ Roland.
anticipate potential delays for the morning commute. In other news, a recent government report on prescription drug pricing points to corporate
Freedom of the press is about your right to know.
What are you talking about, man? Look at his stats.
It's about your right to be informed. Your right to access all types of information keeps us free as a nation.
No.
Today, there are real threats to press freedom.
Residential areas by...
And your right to know about the world around us.
Look.
Some threats are obvious, some are easy to miss, but they all put our way of life at risk. We must defend against all of these threats, no matter what kind of news is important to you.
Justified putting American troops in harm's way?
That's a great question.
We must protect our right to know before it's too late. Understand the threats. ProtectPressFreedom.org.
I'm Ben Affleck, and I want to thank you for joining me in supporting Paralyzed Veterans of America.
I joined the Navy to serve my country as a Navy SEAL. While parachuting with my platoon, my parachute didn't open. I broke my neck. It left me paralyzed. Paralyzed Veterans of America was by my side from that moment on.
Since 1946, Paralyzed Veterans of America has kept a promise to our wounded veterans. We will never leave a fallen comrade behind.
Thanks to PVA, paralyzed veterans are getting specialized medical care and treatments, the benefits they've earned, the jobs they want, and the accessible vehicles and homes they need.
I just don't think my family would be as happy as they are without the support that I received from Paralyzed Veterans of America.
Our veterans fought for us. Let's fight for them.
To learn more, go to pva.org today.
Welcome back to Therapy Ain't No Joke, right here on the Honey Channel on Roku TV, as well as on the Flow Television Network, Apple TV, Fire TV, and Android TV, wherever you get your streaming from. I am the architect, Sean Garvey. Wednesday nights, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is where you check out Therapy Ain't No Joke. We're also streaming live on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, The Mental Space Show. Yes, we're still calling it The Mental Space, but right now, this is Therapy Ain't No Joke, all right? This is where we have in-depth mental health conversations and talk about so many things surrounding mental health, as well as holding you and others accountable for your mental health. Joining with us on the second edition, the second half of Therapy Ain't No Joke, ladies and gentlemen, he is doing big things in the comedy circuit. If you are in the NYC or in New York or in Hollis or just in the state of New York and you want to get a good laugh, he got some shows lined up throughout the month of September, ladies and gentlemen, and he's going to give you some info and all that great stuff in just a few moments. But without further ado, let's bring him on to Therapy Ain't No Joke, the one and only Darnell Morris, ladies and gentlemen. What's going on? What's cracking, fam?
What's going on, brother?
Oh,
I'm out
okay.
here being a hippie.
Oh, okay. So we got to talk about this.
Yes, sir.
we got to wait a minute. Hold on.
Yes, sir.
I almost want to drop the beat. I almost want to drop the beat by what I'm seeing right now.
What's happening?
That's the question I want to know. What is happening with your Rick James wig? Why you got on your Rick James wig on?
First of all, brother, this is all natural. This is I've been taking them hormone pills, and I'm good to go, baby. They said promise me 24 inches in 2 months. I thought it was Viagra. It wasn't. It was hair. But okay, I'll take it.
We got to get this out the way. We had to get this out the way before we go into anything, because therapy ain't no joke. But this one isn't. I'm thinking this is the real thing. This is the real deal.
Brother, what you think I'm wearing? A hat here?
I don't know.
This is premium Indonesian baby hair.
Okay. All right. I'm going to take your word for it. I'm going to take your word for it.
You see that flow? You see that? Ew.
I whip my hair back and forth.
Mr. Garvey, how are you, sir?
Man, I am maintaining. I'm living my best life. Man, how you doing?
Man, I'm doing fantastic or phantismal, because sometimes it's abysmal, but sometimes it's fantastic. So I make a mix of the two of them. But the shows are going great. The career is popping. We're on the right path. And I'm here with my brother. What could go wrong?
That's what I wanted to answer when you came on and you had on this hair thing and stuff like that.
Haters gonna hate, baby.
Okay, I'm gonna leave it alone. I'm gonna leave your hair alone.
I don't know what's wrong with you, Sean. Hating that. Get your hating ass off the radio.
Wait, okay. I said to our viewers and I said to our listeners that this is a safe space to people that are, like you, basically.
I don't know what the like you is.
But being themselves, this is a safe space where you are in a place where you're living your best life. You're doing everything. We're going to get into your own mental health journey and just even a great work that you've been doing in the comedy circuit. We'll get into that in just a few moments. But I want to acknowledge, though, Darnell Morris, because you've been on plenty of my platforms before. You might see me crying because the hair thing is. You might see me crying on and off here, shedding tears. But
yes, sir.
I got to throw
this is post-divorce, by the way. This is post-divorce.
That's one of the things I want to talk to you about later on in the conversation, Darnell. But I got to throw in a fun fact. So Darnell Morris has been on a couple of my shows, including the Beat Break Morning Show that I do with DJ Rollo. And he was in the studio with Barjona Andrews. I think it's Barjona Williams now. But Barjona, just a fun fact, when we were at the Waywork Studios in the ATL a few years ago, and Barjona, got to give a shout out to her because Barjona is the daughter to Chicken Man from the limited series Fight Night.
Okay.
By Will Packer, that's currently on Peacock. So I got to give a shout out to Barjona. And Darnell,
I remember that sweatbox. The AC wasn't working that day.
No. So that was Wonder Root.
Oh, excuse me.
Wonder Root.
We've been through too much together.
That's why you have on that hair. That's why we've been through so much. That's why you have on the hair.
I gotta be incognito.
Yeah. Okay. So let me set the stage up for our viewers and for our listeners, because many people, Darnell, don't know our history together, right? And we can talk about this because we both are no longer on that station anymore. Like I said, this is a safe space, so feel free to express however you want to express. But when me and Darnell first worked with each other, we did not get along at all. I don't know if Darnell.
This is news to me.
This is news to you. Well, I felt like we didn't get along at all. Because it felt like I was Johnny Gill to New Edition, and you was Bobby Brown. Like, who is this Negro? Who is this guy that is coming to the radio station and trying to take my job?
Well, it wasn't so much who is this guy trying to take my job, but I was definitely sure it was like, who the hell is this Negro? Understand, this is my house, baby. And so you're gonna play by the rules, and we're gonna learn, and we're gonna work together. But it blossomed into something amazing.
It did. It did. Yeah. Go ahead, Darnell.
You know what it was for me, Sean? I just took a lot of pride in the station and the years and the work that I had put in there. So I wasn't about to let anybody come in there and just, F around.
Yeah.
I didn't know you were the serious professional that you actually were. And then we became cool though.
And I got to give credit to you, Darnell, because Darnell was one of the first people at WAOK back in the day that trained me to produce some of the shows, to produce some of the programs on WAOK. And I learned from this guy, because coming from one other radio station to another, you know how radio stations are, because you have a lengthy history just like I do, working in different environments, different radio stations. And it was a different environment because I was in the major leagues and I was in the minor leagues before coming over to the major leagues. So I got to give credit to this brother right here, Darnell, by the way.
Man, I'll tell you what, you had all the potential in the world and you still do. And you keep growing and you keep shining. And I wasn't wrong, but I was going to put you through the ringer because I wanted to make sure, if you're here, you're here. And we take this very seriously while we're here, despite the paycheck.
Right. Like I said, since we're no longer at that radio station anymore, this is definitely a safe space for all of us to express.
We can talk that talk now.
So that paycheck was, yeah. I needed a lot of therapy every time.
But let me tell you guys something about Sean, man. When he came in there, he suited and booted. He came in there, he was ready to work. He took it seriously. He was a hard worker. And you were always very receptive to criticism, constructive criticism, and listening and learning. You wanted to learn. You were a sponge. And I said, okay, that's all I can ask for. And you took it seriously. So once that was established, because you got to understand how many producers I saw before you come and go. Yeah. It was like you thought you was going to come here, get rich in a week, and be a rock star. And that's just not the way, especially that station, because it was a very humble station for the most part. And everybody that was there worked hard. They were highly educated, highly accomplished. So you were in a rare air. You were in the same studio that Martin Luther King was in, that Malcolm X was in, that Shirley Chisholm, like all of these people. There was a long legacy behind that studio. So anybody that came in there, it's not saying we all have to be all blah, 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 and, all tight wads, but there was a level of seriousness and lineage that came with that station, and I had to learn too. So somebody taught me there too.
Yeah, what would you say was your identity there? Because when I came in, I not only came in as kind of somewhat like the rookie, even though I wasn't in that position for a long time, but I came in as a rookie and, the nice guy with the nice guy demeanor. Oh, now you want to take your hair off. That's not. By the way, y'all,
let's get back to business.
I knew it.
Let's get back to business.
It was sweaty.
It's itchy, it's hot, and my Mets are in the playoff hunt. So
okay. Well, what would you say was your own identity at the radio station? Because I always kind of saw you like the comical bad boy of the radio station.
I was definitely the comical bad boy, which I took pride, and I still take pride today being the comedian bad boy. But because of my tenure there, I also had to, wear a couple of different hats. So the other hat was the leadership role, especially when, at the point in time I became the senior producer at that station.
Right.
So while we could laugh and joke all day, and me, I'm down to laugh and joke all day, we also have to understand that there was a job to be done. Yeah. And we needed to make sure that was taken seriously and that was done correctly. Because if that's not happening, then none of this other fun stuff can happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And I trained, it wasn't just you. By the time you got there, I had trained probably about 75% of that staff there. On that program, I helped rebuild when they changed over to Odyssey. I helped rebuild the platform. And, for each and every show, for the political nights, campaign nights, that's a coveted slot as a producer. And I would always be the go-to guy. Hey, Darnell, selection night, we need you here for 12, 14 hours. And while at the time I was probably like, it sucked, On one hand, on the other hand, I was like, it was a sense of pride for me because it was like, okay, they trust me with something important, and that's when it transcended the comedic bad boy. Like it's like, all right, well now you got to put on this different hat here.
Yeah. I want to dive deep because, like I said, I've had you on a couple of episodes. I want to get personal. I want to know who Darnell Morris really is and what he was from New York. Let's get to the Darnell Morris before the comedy, before the comedian, before the radio producer, the radio host. Who was Darnell Morris?
What, we got a year on this show? How much time we got?
we got plenty of time.
Well, I mean, growing up, basically born in Brooklyn, raised in Flushing, Queens, aka Let's Go Mets. Not a great student. Not a great student at all. I'm not going to say I hated education, but I didn't take that very seriously. And I got into the radio thing, man, because after high school, at the time, there was only one other male who had graduated from college in my entire family. So I didn't know what to do after that. And then I had a guidance counselor. I've always had really good people in my life. And I'm so blessed and fortunate to be able to say that. And the guidance counselor was just like, so what college are you going to? I wasn't even thinking about it. And just to show you how bad of a student I was, I didn't graduate with the regular class. I had to go to a summer school to graduate with a class of like 15 or 16 people. And so she pitched the idea. And I said, okay. And I went to National Community College to start off. And I thought I was going to be in the NBA. That didn't work out, clearly. So once I saw that wasn't going to happen, I said, you know, what else interests me? And the only other thing that really captivated me was radio, because I was a big Howard Stern. I am a big Howard Stern fan. And I said, well, this seems fun, and I think I can do this. And by the way, at the time, horrible orator, horrible mumbler, all day, all night. Only my family could really understand me in a full conversation. But for whatever reason, I went into radio, and I went through the auditions with Jim Green over there at WHPC. And it's funny because there were two interviews. So there was a guy before me, and then it was me. So the walls there, it's a college radio station, so the wall's a little thin.
Yeah.
And I can hear the interview before me. And I just hear Jim telling him, maybe you should learn English. Like, maybe you should do something with that accent beforehand. So now I'm sitting outside listening to this with no radio experience.
Yeah.
I know I'm a terrible orator. And then he's like, next. I was like, oh. But I went in there, man, and he stopped me about halfway through it. I said, oh boy, what happened? Like, I'm about to get reamed out too. And he just looked at me and said, when can you start? And I'm not saying this like I was a rock star, you know, right out the gate. It was a lot of learning. It was, you know, years in the making to see what I am today, to be able to go on stage and speak clearly and effectively.
Right.
But he saw enough in me where it was like, all right, let's give this kid a shot. And I told my mother, she was mortified. She was like, you're going to do what? And that turned out to blossom into, 20 years in radio. And now 12 years in comedy. And I'm just so thankful for each step. And the reason I think it's important, and I always tell that story, because I think it's important to tell the story. Because one of my biggest complaints with America is, we always see the gold medal. We don't see the work. So when you're looking at that from a perspective of a young kid, guy or girl, and like, for instance, let's say we look at like a Martin Luther King, right?
Right.
And we look at his legacy. So those legacies can become very intimidating because it was like, oh my God, he was born like this. Nah, he wasn't. He had to go through trials and tribulations. He had his little bad boy period too. And I think the story relates just to humanity in it. So don't think because I'm here or because Sean Garvey's here or Jay-Z's there or whoever that, oh my God, it's too late for me. I can't do it. I don't have the talent. I don't have the time. No, you do. It's in you. Take the time. Dedicate yourself to what you want to do. And I promise you, mountains will move. I promise you. And it doesn't take that long. It doesn't take as long as everybody thinks it does, especially now with this new age of technology, AI, and all of that, all of the above. Just decide what you make a decision. Make a decision and dedicate yourself to that. And I promise you, in 6 months, give yourself a chance for 6 months, 6 solid months, and I promise you, you'll be in places you never thought you could be in.
Yeah. Yeah. I want to go back to something you said just a few minutes ago that you was mumbling over your words. And I can relate to you because I remember my first few years in radio that I was mumbling, I was stumbling over my words. And you know, that really made a major impact to me in my first few years in radio because I really thought, Darnell, I really thought that I wasn't going to be a good radio host or a talk show host by talking the way that I did because I knew, especially early on in my earlier years in elementary, I had a speech problem and I had to go to a speech class. I kid you not. I went to a speech class because
What did you have, a stutter?
Yeah, I was stuttering. And it was just so crazy because my dad and my grandfather, they didn't have speech problems. But maybe somebody in my family did and just skipped the generation. And I had to learn over the years to practice. And that's when I became better. I still have a troubled time with it every so often, but not as much in my first few years. So, like, how did it make you feel personally on a mental level, Darnell? How did it make you feel that you stumbling over your words and you talking the way that you did a long time ago? Like, how did it make you feel? Did it bring that low confidence in you? Or you was just like, hey, this is just how I talk. It is what it is.
Well, I'm not sure how it made me feel. But one thing I am sure of is I come from a family of blue-collar workers. I come from a family of hard workers. So I had really great examples. My mother, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, my uncles. And I got the chance to see them get up every day and work their ass off. And to become the person that they were and the person that they were becoming, because we're always evolving, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I said, okay, I may not have the speech or the skills speaking that I would like to, but I do have a hard work ethic, and I've always had that. Like my first job was at 14. You know, my mother said there was a pool across the street from us, Carlisle Pool, and I loved to swim. I loved the water. And so the first year she paid for the membership for me. But the membership was probably about $200, which in the 90s, that's a little penny right there. So the next year she said, listen, if you want to have that same summer thing going on over there at the pool, you're going to have to get a job. I said, okay. I don't know if she thought I was going to get a job. I walked in 2 days later, I got a job at that pool. So I've always had that work ethic. I've always had that dog in me, as they say now. I had that dog in me. Yeah. So I knew that if I really wanted something, and that anything, I don't care what it is, I can get it. Everything is attainable as long as I'm willing to put in the work. And I'm always willing to put in the work. So working with that, taking my time and listening to my mentors, to my seniors at stations and throughout radio, throughout music, throughout comedy. You know, I leaned on everybody. Like I feel like a criminal because I'm going to steal a little bit of knowledge from here. I'm going to steal a little bit of everybody I come in contact with because I want to take the best parts out of everybody and become a big bowl of jambalaya.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then bring that forth to the table. My uncle once said to me, which I thought was weird at the time, but he said two things to me that stand out to me that were spot on. Number one, he said, the sexiest thing about you, I'm like, okay, Unc, we getting a little weird here. He said, the sexiest thing about you is your versatility. I could bring you to the hood, or I can bring you to the boardroom. And in either scenario, you're gonna be good. And the second thing he said to me, we had this old radio, like an old school radio. The kids wouldn't even know what I'm talking about. It only had 6 programmable buttons on it. But he came downstairs to the basement one day and I had all of them programmed. He said, "You're gonna make a living hitting buttons." Again, I didn't know what he was talking about, but look at this. Producing radio 20 years, he was spot on with both.
Oh, okay. I get the connection there because when you say hitting buttons, you are known to hit a lot of buttons in both.
You know me. I'm an alchemist behind that board.
in both radio and in comedy, and it's a great transition going into comedy. Do you think comedy is your escapism? Like, I mean, I don't know how you got into comedy. I know how you got into radio, right? But I don't know how you got into comedy. So let's start there. How did you get into comedy? And once you got into it, was it your escapism?
Well, let's start with getting into comedy.
Yeah.
So normally throughout my past, I've always been a guy to keep 2 or 3 jobs at a time because I never wanted to be held hostage to one job. So there was a point in time where I had no job. So, and this has happened to me twice in my life. So every time I am completely unemployed, my first thing is to go back to school. So I already had my associate's degree in communications. So I went back for my bachelor's in communications and technology. At this time this is happening, still not working. One of my friends, Anthony Grant, Ant Grant, he said, "Yo, you're really funny. Why don't you try doing stand-up?" So I said, "Oh, you crazy." I said, "But I'll do it because I'm wild. So, I'll do anything." I said, "Yeah, let's do it for a laugh. Let's see what happens." And I went up and did my first open mic at the Broadway Comedy Club. I want to say that was like 2004 or something like that, 2005.
Right.
And I did okay. You know what I'm saying? I did good for a first time to me. It wasn't great, but it was good. But the energy and the emotion and the feeling I got from it was so powerful because for me, it's like, I'm going into a room and now, talking present day, going into a room of 300 people, 1,000 people, 2,500 people. I don't know these people from a hole in the wall, but the power to take you from whatever you're going through in your life, good, bad, or indifferent, and make you forget about that for however long I'm on stage and make you laugh and just bring that joy out in you. You left out of there with a good feeling and you had a good time. Man, that meant everything to me. That was therapy for me. Escapism? I don't know if it's escapism for me. I don't think so. I think the real life is escapism. But when I'm on stage, man, it's just me. It's just me. It's who I've always been. The jokes I tell, as horrible as some of them may be, it's just me. And it's just me on a plate. And it's me displaying my thoughts and thoughts I think that a lot of us have, but a lot of people are scared to say. And even more people are scared to laugh at. So to be at this level now, and I'm not saying it like I'm Dave Chappelle, there's still lots of work to be done and many more barriers to break through. But to be able to do that on a level with such confidence, and then to have people laugh. Like, I like to start my sets with a horrible joke. A horrible, mean, evil, and just to see where we're at here with the crowd. But it also sets a tone for the performance. Like, oh, okay, he's coming with this. He's gonna be foul, but he's gonna be funny. And
that's your science. That's your method to your madness. Okay.
Yes, foul and funny, foul and funny, because there's a couple things. So you know how people say too soon. I don't. Those words mean nothing to me. They mean nothing to me. Whitney Houston died one day, and the next day I was on stage talking about Whitney Houston made a song called "Take Me to the Rock." Maybe we should have paid attention.
Oh my.
And I mean, she did make a song called "Take Me to the Rock," we just should have taken it a little bit more literal about it.
Now that's definitely too soon. That's definitely too soon.
Never heard it too soon. Because if I don't do it, somebody else is going to do it. And the bottom line is, what I find is, you can make jokes about anything, right? I make jokes about rape, abortion, murder, incest. You can make jokes about whatever you want to, but it's got to be fun. It has to be. Because if I tell this abortion joke, if that joke's not funny, bro, I'm getting booed off the stage.
Yeah. But that's the jokes. Let me ask you this, since we're on that. Does the jokes come with a message behind it, though? Or is it just straight jokes?
Well, I'll tell you what. I think it's a 50-50 mix. I think it's a 50-50 mix. Because sometimes I'll tell a joke, and I want you to think about something. And then other times I'll just be goofy. But I also got very comfortable living, a lot of comedians hate this. Most comedians I know hate this. It's like that awkward silence after a joke. I live for that moment. Once I have you in that awkward silence, baby, the show is over. You're mine. You're mine. Because now I have you listening, where you can hear a pin drop. I tell this joke, and it goes something like this, right? I think that Planned Parenthood and the Make-A-Wish Foundation should link up, join forces, and come out as the same unit. They're both doing the same thing. They both serve the same purpose, right? Okay. Wishes are being granted, and children are dying. So that's one of those jokes where I'll get like that awkward, oh, but I've got you now. And now I can go wherever I want with it.
Wow. Well, so you one of those comedians, because see, here's the thing. So there's comedians like Kevin Hart, right? There's comedians like Kevin Hart, and then there's comedians like Ari Spears or
Corey Holcomb,
right? And I'm glad you said that, because you reminded me, because I've been to a few shows of yours, and I don't
appreciate you.
Oh, absolutely. You know what I mean? Like, I know funny when I see funny, right? And when I see funny, I'm going to go out and support. And you remind me a little bit. I don't like to do too many comparisons from comedians to comedians, but you remind me a little bit of Marlon Wayans to a certain extent. Have you checked out the interview that Marlon Wayans recently did with Shannon Sharp?
I literally watched it this afternoon. Watched it this afternoon on Club Shay Shay.
On Club Shay Shay. So I got to give credit to Club Shay Shay. Shout out to Shannon Sharp. So did you see the part where Marlon Wayans did an impersonation of one of his brothers, Keenan Ivan Wayans, and how he talks?
Yes.
Like, he was like, I'm going to do a quick one real quick. And he was like, well, you know, Marlon, if you want to do the Nutty Professor, you can do it. But if you want to do Menace to Society, you can't do the Nutty Professor. I was like, is that really how Keenan talk? Because
I was like, why does he talking like Martin Luther King? What is happening right now?
I mean, I don't know if you've been compared or been told you compare a little bit to Marlon Wayans, but I find it so interesting because you and Marlon said the same thing as far as using comedy as therapy. Like, it's therapy to you guys when you go up on stage and you perform. I mean, both you are from New York, number one. You all come from a big family, number two. And number three, like, you find everything funny. Like, you all come from the branch of J.J. Walker. I really think in my heart of heart, Darnell, if there wasn't no J.J. Walker, there wouldn't be no Marlon Wayans. And I don't think there wouldn't be the Wayans or even you if it wasn't for J.J. Walker.
Well, I mean, it's all a progression, right? So we'll have to be thankful to, that's why you have to pay homage to the people that came before you. I'm never going to get on any platform and be like, yo, I'm the shit, like I'm the best, I'm the greatest thing that ever happened. Nah, this wouldn't even be possible if it wasn't for guys like that. Even white guys like Anthony Jeselnik, what's his name? Daniel Tosh from Tosh.0. If it wasn't for comedians like that, man, I'm forgetting one. I'm gonna kill myself. He was on What was the guy's name from the Chappelle Show?
Oh,
It was
so many. There's so many. I mean, you had Charlie Murphy.
Paul Mooney.
Paul Mooney. Yeah, of course.
Paul Mooney. If it's not for guys like that, they don't create a lane for us to come in and tell dark, funny humor. But they also gave you a blueprint to show you it's not just about being dark. It's not just about saying something because it's shocking. You got to put a pin in it and make it funny.
Yeah.
You got to hit that punchline. And honestly, that takes years of work. I look now and a lot of people, I know a lot of comedians, they'll get upset with all of this whole TikTok generation. They're like, oh, but they didn't put in the work. First of all, I'm like, listen to me. Get your money how you get your money. I'm never going to sit here and be like, oh, he's not a real comedian because he's on TikTok. She's not a real comedian because she's on IG. No, the only thing I would say to those YouTubers, Instagram, TikTokers is put in the time, put in the work. Because it's one thing, I can sit here and record videos all day and be funny. It's a completely different transition going on to stage. Take your time and take it seriously. And then you have all that crossover money and boom, look at that.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a skill. It's a craft. You have to learn it like anything else. I know. I hate when I hear people say, you can't learn to be funny. Yeah, you can. We all did. Because you could be. I know a lot of guys that are funnier than me that I grew up with on the streets. Could they do it on stage? No, because there is a skill set to it. There is a craft. There is a writing aspect to it. There is a structure aspect to it. There is a discipline that has to come with it because nobody's coming to pick me up to make sure I'm at a comedy show. Like I did a show and I did 3 shows maybe 2 weeks ago. One day I'm in Baltimore, one day I'm in Connecticut, and then another day I'm in the city. So, and I think that same week I went to Massachusetts as well, actually. But so there's a discipline, and these are things where I just get in my car and I go do the show. Sometimes I'll stay the night. A lot of times I'll just drive back home because business has gotten pretty good, and I value sleeping in my own bed.
And not somebody else's.
Right, like for real.
Yeah.
Even though those beds up there at the Marriott, at the Mohegan Sun, I don't know what they put in those beds, man. It's like a slice of heaven. I'll stay at the Mohegan Sun any chance I can.
Do they leave the candy behind the pillow? Some hotels do it. They put mints and candy near the pillow or behind the pillow. Do they do that?
No, they don't do that. But okay. I will say this: every hotel room is its own apartment. You got a living room, a little kitchen area, bedroom, big ass bathroom. Yeah. Like it's if y'all ever get a chance, your listeners, you in Mohegan Sun, don't stay at Mohegan Sun. You go to the Marriott 5 minutes away, brother. Half the price and twice the pleasure.
Come get these jokes. He's going to be performing in multiple venues in New York. We're going to get into that in just a few moments. For those who are just tuning in to Therapy Ain't No Joke, we're talking to comedian Darnell Morris. He's going to be performing at a lot of different venues across New York. And outside of New York, he's going to get into that in just a few moments. But I want to talk about the comedy on stage. And this is from knowing you personally. Okay, once again, this is Therapy Ain't No Joke with Sean Garvey.
I got a question for you.
Go for it.
The first time you saw me on stage, because I mean, you knew me. Right. And a little backstory for the listeners here. So me and Sean were working at the radio station, but I was also I wasn't doing comedy that heavy, or wasn't very successful in comedy. Let's put it like that at that time. So I was driving for Uber, and so one night I get a Uber request, and this guy named Sean. And so I don't usually pay attention to the picture, but I blew the picture up. I was like, "That's Sean Garvey."
I don't remember having a profile picture on there. I thought it was like a blank picture of me or something.
No. That's the only way I knew. Okay. That's the only way I knew it was you, because it didn't have your last name on there. And so then when you got in the car, we both just kind of like looked at each other. It was like, "You working? Yeah. You working? Yeah. Let's go."
Yeah.
I was like, "Sean, you could have just called me if you needed a ride."
But it just goes to show you how much of a small world that we were in, because I didn't know you was doing ride sharing at the time. I thought you was just only doing radio. And I was doing my own side hustle at the time as well too. But it's just such a small world. I appreciate
Not
that.
on that paycheck, brother.
Nah, no.
I was talking to Robert Patillo from WAOK the other day. He just had his last show at the station.
Yeah.
But I was talking to him, and I have a show coming up on the 20th at Vaughn's Comedy Club. We'll get into that because I'm really excited about that. But the tickets are $45. I'm selling tickets for $45, Sean. I said, Rob, that's a week's salary at WAOK.
What did Robert Patillo? What was his response? What did he say to that?
He just started laughing. He said, "That's about right, pretty close."
Okay, yeah, he didn't have a comeback for that. Okay,
mind you, it was his last show, so he didn't care either.
Oh, okay, yeah, I didn't know it was his last show. And both, by the way, listeners, both me and Darnell, we produced his shows in the past. And Robert Patillo, he's been one of the great ones over at WLK. So shout out to Robert Patillo and his new endeavor. But but I mean, we had so many good times at WLK, but there were some challenging times, you know, on a serious note though. Because what I noticed from you on a personal level, there were times where I felt your energy. I saw your energy, like you didn't really want to talk to nobody or anybody for that particular matter. But then when I see you on stage, you're a whole different type of person. I want to go
Two
back.
different beasts. Two different beasts.
Yeah, you know, and you hit it right on the nail when you said that the stage and comedy is therapy to you. Like, what does it exactly do to you when you are on stage and you talking to the people?
Well, you got to understand something too. At WAOK, man, it was kind of like I'm trying to figure out the way to articulate this and not disrespect anybody, but that was, you know, a lot of those years that were really tough years for me there, because personally, interpersonally, because I was also at the time I was going through what would become the divorce. So those days when I wasn't talking too much, and that went on for a little bit because I was miserable. Like, and that's why I would stay at the station longer. I would leave the station and just go sit, you know, in my party area. You know, you have those little activity centers in your complexes, and I would sit there for a couple of hours before I went home because it just wasn't a great time. And so I tried my best not to bring that misery into work. But you guys knew, because you guys know me. Like, if I'm normal Darnell, I'm fun, I'm jokey, I'm talking. So once that stops, all right, something's going on. And so a lot of that, as much as I tried to curtail it, crossed over into that, and where I was just in a miserable place. And I didn't know how to get out of it. So going to the radio, that was escapism, because I didn't have to be at home. Being on stage, that was escapism because I didn't have to be at home. You know what I'm saying? I remember, I mean, you said you were going to get personal. I didn't think you were going to be Oprah here.
No, get personal. This is a safe space, bro, because I'm listening to you and I'm finding what you're saying relatable, because I went through my own stuff as well too. But that divorce, and I know you know, you can talk about it or not, but that divorce, I could tell it really hit you hard, because it not only affected you and your wife at the time, but it also affected the daughters. It affected the kids. Why they say that whenever a divorce happens, it affects the daughters and the kids. And, you know, even at the time, I tried to reach out to you, and you was just on radio silence, literally. Like,
yeah. No, I wasn't having it. I didn't have the words to even say anything. I honestly didn't know who I was at a point. You know what I'm saying? Like, I forgot who Darnell was, so much to the point where after I, you know, left the household, it took me, like, no BS. I had to sit in the mirror and practice smiling because I forgot how. Furthermore than that, though, I had to rediscover, because now I'm just sitting in the house, and I started. Well, I mean, I always drank. I always drank, but the drinking had become so excessive because I just went to the radio station now and I came home.
Jeez.
And it got to the point where like I had to check myself into rehab over the drinking. And so that was a tough time for me, but I looked in the mirror, I saw a version of myself. I didn't know who it was. And I knew that this wasn't what was meant for me. So I spent about 2 or 3 days in rehab before I started a riot, which was hilarious, by the way, because there's always some funny in everything, right? So I check into this rehab, and voluntary rehab, but I just needed to stop drinking because I was going to kill myself. I was drinking like 36 22-ounce beers a day. It was nuts. Yeah, it was nuts, bro. That's all I did. I worked, came home, got oblivious. So I checked in, and about a day or two in, I don't even think it was 2 days. No, it was definitely 2 days. It wasn't 3 days. The conditions in the rehab were so disgusting.
Yeah.
So finally, and you get to sit down and talk to people while you're there. Classes are a big part of it, group classes and stuff like that. And as I'm listening to other people's stories, I was like, I don't have a problem. I said, this mofo got a problem. I said, I just need to cut it out. So when I went to, I said, you know what, I'm ready to leave. And the facility said, oh, you can't leave. You have to stay here for 30 days. I said, what you talking about? This is voluntary rehab. They said, no, you have to stay here for 30 days. I said, I didn't sign up for that. So we're on like let's say a basement floor, right?
Right.
Guys on one side, girls on the other side. And the only thing that separates us is a piece of tape so that we couldn't cross over, we couldn't mingle, whatever. And we get about 30 minutes a day outside. And by 30 minutes outside, I mean, we would go outside and there were these like 15 to 16 foot high cement walls. And you could see the sky. And that was your outside time for the day. And the food was, I don't even know what they were feeding us. The showers were disgusting. There were no shower curtains. So I said, no, I'm ready to leave now. And she said, well, you can't. I've always been social. You know that. So I turned to the fellas. I'm in the middle of the room. I turned to the fellas. I say, hey, fellas, anybody want to get out of here right now? And they were like, yeah. I said, no, does anybody want to get out of here right now? And they were like, yeah. I turned to the ladies. Anybody want to get out of here right now? They were like, yeah. I said, well, let's go. Sean, 60 people started storming this door. The administrator comes to the back because I just set the fire. I just lit the fuse and sat back.
Yeah.
And so she comes over to me. She says, sir, because she understood I had a certain level of control over the situation. She says, sir, could you stop this? I said, I don't think they're done yet. And you haven't told me I'm getting out of here. And she says, well, if you stop this, then I'll let you. No, sweetheart, because I'm not stupid. So then she says, well, can we at least walk over to the side and talk? We walk over to the side, and you can feel a presence behind you. There were 2 orderlies behind me, and they had a syringe, and they would call that the calm down syringe. And I've seen them inject people with this in their 2 days, and they come out looking like a zombie. I turned around and I said, first of all, tell these motherfuckers to back up. That's number one, because they'll all be in the hospital. We can all go to the hospital together. And she told them to back up. And so amongst talking to her, I said, okay. She said, listen, I can get you out of here, but please, could you calm this down? I said, okay, well, let me tell you something. Not only do I want out of here, anybody who wants a path out of here, I want them to have a path to get out of here too, because it, as per usual for me, it's not just about me, bro. There were people in there that just didn't need to be in there, but they probably felt stuck the same way, got the same message I got. Mm-hmm. And so she said, okay. And then I said, everybody chill out. Everybody calm right down. And then I sat down with the guys and the girls individually, and I told them what they needed to do to get out. But I said, listen, if you really need the help, and be honest with yourself, then stay here and get the help. But if you feel like you're going to be okay and you can manage yourself, I said, then here's how you get out of here. Because It was one of those places. It's like prison. Prison's supposed to be a what is it? A rehabilitation process. That's what it's supposed to be. But it's never that. You come out more of an animal than you went in, and it was the same type of situation there. So I think I left with about 8 people that day, and I just walked home about 4.5, 5 miles. I could have called up my people and got a ride. I wanted to be outside. But again, that was a very difficult time for me. Moving forward, you know what I remember, and she's gonna hate, my ex-wife's gonna hate me telling this story, but in 2018 I did a CBS special, right? CBS called me up for a Thanksgiving special. They said, listen, we need a comedian for this segment on the news. And I said, okay, I'm in. I said, where do I need to be? They said, no, we'll come to your house. And they came to my house and whatnot. We shoot it. It was supposed to air once. It wound up replaying 7 times because they loved it so much. But the point of the story was, the night it was supposed to air, like me and my ex-wife would get into this whole argument over the CBS special. I didn't know they would come to the house. It's not like we lived in squalor. Our house was never dirty. She was just trying to be controlling at the time. But again, we were at odds with each other. And so I had to leave the house to go watch myself, in the activity center. So it was moments like that. Like those are the type of things I was going through. And so I was in pain. I was definitely in pain. And I remember once I had moved out, DJ Sturgis, shout out to DJ Sturgis, award-winning DJ Sturgis now.
Shout out, you gotta give him an applause on this, bro. Yeah.
He came into the studio one day from V103 to WAOK, and he said, man, you look rejuvenated. I said, I moved out. And he was like, I said, okay. He said, you're back. I said, yeah, I'm back, baby. Let's go. Let's get to work now. And I think that actually fueled a lot of my comedy, even though I don't tell many jokes about it at all, really. I have 1 or 2 sets where it's really funny stuff about it, but I don't like to even tell jokes about it because it was such a dark time for me. I don't like to reflect. I don't like to go back into that zone. I just like to move forward. And I mean, present day though, her and I, we're actually really cool, and she's very supportive now. Not everything's gonna work, and I don't regret the marriage. I regret the result, but here we are, and we're both doing better. And we're both the most important part is we're both great parents to these kids.
Yeah, and to go back, I said earlier in the program that therapy, what does that look like for you? It may not be talking in front of a person. It may not be in a group setting and talking about your feelings. It could just be sitting by the water or exercising or going to the gym or like what you do, your comedy, like you alluded to a couple of times, that comedy is your therapy. But what you've been through, it sounded to me that if you did not come out or get out of this particular institution, that you could have been a lot more worse than how you went in.
I'd probably be dead, bro. Honestly, like just keeping it 100 with you, I'd probably be dead. Because I probably would have killed myself. It was that bad. It got to a point where I was a gun owner at the time, where I really sat in the patio one day and contemplated killing myself. And the next day, that's when I checked in the rehab. So it gets serious, and I want to say to everybody who's going through something: number one, you're stronger than you think you are. You can get through it. Acknowledge your situation and take it seriously. Don't just say that, oh, this is just another bad day. If you keep having that feeling and that's your general consensus, you should probably go talk to somebody. To try and figure out why is every day a bad day. Because in general, my life, I don't really have bad days. That was a really bad period in my life, and that's the worst time I've ever had. But it wasn't the whole marriage. You know what I'm saying? The majority of marriage was fantastic. But I'm saying this to say, Darnell Morris, in general, as a person, I'm not the type to be like, yo, I'm having a bad day. I really don't have too many bad days. They're either blah or they're happy. So once those bad days start stringing back to back to back, and it's like, okay, well, now I can't use this as a one-off. This isn't a one-off. I gotta really pay attention and shine a light on what the problem is for myself and what's going on, and address that issue. Because otherwise, I'm just going to destroy myself. Period.
Yeah. Yeah. Darnell Morris hanging out with us right here on Therapy Ain't No Joke with Sean Garvey.
Sorry if I got too deep there.
No. See, like I said, this is a safe space, Darnell. And I told you beforehand that I think this is going to be one of our best interviews because I wanted to know, like, the real Darnell Morris. I've seen you come into the studio, you do your thing. I've seen you on stage, you do your thing and stuff. But many of us that are in the same environment or in the same spaces as you, it's like that whole thing of you don't know what a person is going through until they tell you their story. And
Right.
I feel like I'm really getting a lot more out of you than I did when I was working alongside with you, because a lot of people didn't know what I was going through deep inside, especially when I was doing the mental space on WAOK. Like, I'm talking to so many people on the airwaves, but I'm still dealing with some other stuff behind the scenes, right? And I want to switch gears for one moment, if we may. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you ever talk about that on the air? Because if you don't talk about it, then I won't talk about it. But there was
Yeah, we can talk about it.
Okay, because there's a specific time where you were homeless or about to be homeless at some point.
Yes.
And I'm not saying it to be funny or just be disrespectful, nothing like that. But there was a point in time that this was happening with you.
Mm-hmm.
And even during that time, we had known each other for a little while now, but I always held you in very high regards. I always had and still do, the utmost respect for you because you carried yourself in such a manner that it warranted that. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
There was a point in time where I went to Jean Ross and, I told her the situation.
Shout out to Jean Ross, by the way. Shout
out to Jean Ross, the boss, baby. I still talk to her. I just talked to her the other day. So I told her the story, but I didn't mention your name, right? I said, but we have an employee who needs some place to live. And, I gave as much information as I knew. And then she said, well, who's the employee? I said, Jean, I really don't want to get into that. And I said, I don't think it should matter. And Jean was like, Jean is kind of snarky too. She was like, well, no, it kind of does. It kind of does. I'll make sure I like this person. So I closed the door, and I think it was me, her, and Brenda in the office. Or it might have just been me and Jean. And then I said, okay, it's Sean. And she was like, no. So then we linked up with Bozeman, and we tried to move mountains to make sure we got you in a space. I'm not saying I would have done that for everybody, but you've always been that guy for me. So if I could help out in any way, that's what I was going to do.
Yeah, we can get into that. I don't mind you sharing. We can get into that. So there was a point in time, especially when I was employed for the radio station. And I was in a transitional phase where I was coming out of one home and I found myself sleeping in motels. And when the money dried up, I was doing what you did at one point in time, did the ride sharing thing. And I found myself sleeping inside of a rental car because I didn't have a car to my name. I didn't own a car at the time. And I was realizing, wait a minute, you just wake up one morning, you'd be like, am I homeless? What's going on? And it was because, yeah, you know what I mean? And it is because I wasn't making enough. And of course, I'm still new to the radio station, so I don't expect to come out the gate making six figures or anything like that.
Right.
But I was in a position where I loved doing what I was doing at the time, but I was in a situation too where I was like,
so also not paying the bills.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? And I'm glad you spoke out and you made aware of it, behind closed doors. Because in this business, Darnell, and many of us that's watching, like, we know in this business, it's about covering yourself. To many people, it's about covering yourself. But folks like us, we come from a place of community. And from community, at least where I come from, we look out for each other.
Absolutely. Me too.
Yeah. So I think a lot of people at the station at the time had stories like you and I. And, and I guess that's why one of the things that I wanted to reach out to you
Do you know why? This is a question for you that I don't know the answer to. Do you know why you felt comfortable enough to even bring that up to me? Your situation.
I have a feeling you're going to tell me the answer. I'm waiting for the answer.
Oh no, I really don't know the answer. I'm asking you because I don't know why you felt comfortable enough to come to me and express what you were going through.
Oh, you know what? I think it's because the energy. So I go by people's energy. I go by, and I'm like this. If you're candid with me, I'm going to give the reciprocal. If you're not candid with me, then I'm not. I just read the room when I come in because you can't do that for everybody in that particular environment. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay, so something about the energy said, all right, I can let him know, and I know he might make a joke, but he's probably also trying to help too.
Right. That part.
Fair enough.
I want to switch gears for one moment because two things. So, and it's funny that we're doing this show on Wednesday nights. It seems like everything happens on a Wednesday. Talk about Wednesday. Hump day. So, we're not only acknowledging the anniversary of 9/11, but one Wednesday ago, a mass shooting took place here in Georgia, Winder, Georgia. A couple of people got killed. Yeah, kids. This was another school shooting that unfortunately took the lives of a few people, and two people, a father and son, are in custody. And for this tragic to happen, let me ask you this, Darnell, as a father of, is it 2 daughters or 3 daughters?
2.
As a father of 2 daughters, have you had those conversations with them yet? Or like, what goes through your mind when you know that I have to have these conversations with my kids because they're going to be going to school?
I definitely had the conversations. Both of them are in self-defense classes as well. Not that is going to be necessarily effective against a gun, but the more tools you have, the better off you are. And I mean, it's just ridiculous, and not to get too political, but when I sit here and I look at these elections and all of this, and they're talking about this, that, and the fourth, I'm like, who cares about any of this? You're not even protecting the children. The innocent children. I said, let's start there. No, there's no other country that has shootings like we do. There's no other country that has school shootings like we do. I mean, we've had probably something like 10,000% more school shootings than the rest of the world combined. And to sit here and say that, oh, everybody's entitled to their guns. I'm happy to see the parents are starting to go to jail. I'm happy. I've been following that story down in Georgia. It's ridiculous that the FBI was at his house a year before. Yeah, they didn't have anything actionable, so they say, but his whole room was like school shooting clippings and stuff like this, and he would write about it. And his father encouraged it and left guns out. I don't even want them to go to jail. Same thing with like a Dylan Roof who shot up a church. Okay? This may be an unpopular opinion, but I mean this shit. The death penalty needs to come back in more states because there are some people that just need to go. We shouldn't have to pay for these people now for the rest of our lives, number one. And let's just be honest, not everybody deserves to be here. They just don't. If you're going to go and shoot up a school, kill 2 people, 4 people, 20 people, I don't see any redemption coming back from that. Okay? I just don't. Rapist, murder, rapist, death sentence rather. I don't, there has to start to become a standard. The reason crimes are a lot lower in other places is because the punishment is so stringent. And we need to start setting an example. We need to change the narrative. And we need to start setting that example. They're sitting there and now they want to question this kid from Georgia as to, well, what made you do it? What made you do this? I don't care what made you do it. You did it. We all have problems, okay? All of us. I don't know one person that doesn't have a problem. Um, but you have to conduct yourself accordingly. And when you think that it's okay to now go to somebody's school, take somebody's life, that's a mother that will never see their son, a father that will never see their daughter, a sibling that will never see their sibling. You're destroying a family. You're destroying a community. And if your punishment is sitting rent free, and I'm not trying to make it sound like prison is this Disney World, but you're sitting rent free, 3 hot meals, free health care, all of this on our dime. I think the punishment has to start to fit the crime.
And
that may be harsh, but
yeah, I mean, I can feel the passion especially as a father of 2 girls, because we're in a world right now where anxiety, frustration is at an all-time high, right? And I remember, we remember the Columbine shooting that took place in 1999, and I was going into a new high school. And this was at the time, Darnell, I didn't know what mental health was. I didn't know what all of these things contributed to mental health was or whatever. I just thought it was just 2 guys going in there and shooting and killing all those people because they watched a lot of video games and stuff like that. But when you look back at incidents like that, fast forward to the shooting that took place in Winder, Georgia last week, ironically, it happened last Wednesday. So that was a week ago. And you think about your kids, you think about your kids, you think about your children in the community. And it's like they already dealing with so much stuff. These kids that survived, the kids that survived from the shooting, they're going to be traumatized for a period of time or even for life.
Yeah.
And
that's one of the reasons why I'm really grateful to move back to New York. I mean, obviously New York is home for me anyway, and Atlanta's my home away from home. That's what I always say.
That's why I consider that's right.
Yeah, like it's New York 1A, Atlanta 1B, and I really mean that. And I got to come back down there. I owe Atlanta some shows at this level to let them see what I've become. And they're always calling people. There's different people from Atlanta, Georgia. When are you coming back? When are you doing a show here? I said, man, I'm coming back there. It just has to be the right situation. You know what I'm saying? But coming back to New York, as far as the school shooting thing, it was just such a great decision because we just don't have that in New York. And it's not that we don't have guns in New York, but I don't think we've ever had a school shooting, not in the major city. And there's a different level of atmosphere, a different level of respect here in the city. It's like, we can go out and we can fight. At worst you might get stabbed, but for like my kids go to school in Washington Heights, heavy Dominican population over there, and it's not that they don't have fights and stuff like that and crime over there, but it's a very close-knit community, so everybody watches over each other's kids. It's old school, so it's like ain't nobody letting you mess with nobody else's kids. 2 kids are having a fight, that's one thing. But as far as some outsider coming in there, that sense of community and that sense of family, and it's not just in Washington Heights. You can see it in different aspects all across the city. You don't really see school shootings in New York or Connecticut or Jersey. First of all, these are non-gun states. You can own a gun, but it's not, and criminals have guns. They're always going to have guns. But you just don't have that up here. And I'm not saying that to say, hey, take everybody's guns away. I don't think anybody should have an AR-15 unless you're in combat. Because otherwise, how many people are trying to burglarize your home at the same time? Really? Who are you, Diddy? But everybody should have a right to defend themselves. But it's been out of hand for far too long now. And there needs to be some legislation. I understand we have a right to possess firearms. But if I was president, okay, you can have your firearms. Make bullets illegal. There has to be some legislation that starts to change this, because I can't imagine my kids going to school and not coming back. And if they're not coming back, I'm telling you right now, 100%, 1,000%, I won't be coming back either. Because I would lose my absolute mind. Every bit of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and this is where therapy ain't no joke. It ain't no joke. It ain't no joke at all, because even, Darnell, I mean, especially going back to the mental space that I was doing on WAOK. The parents, Darnell, the parents and the families that I've interviewed and talked to on the air that lost their kids, that lost their sons and daughters through violence, whether it was from law enforcement or from somebody in the neighborhood. I mean, you can just imagine the trauma and the things that these parents are going through and stuff. And you, as a father of 2 girls, like, I can only imagine. I'm not a parent myself, but I
couldn't even imagine it, brother.
Yeah.
I don't even like to think about it. I don't even like to hypothetically think about how I would react to it, because I couldn't imagine it, losing, whether it was Munchkin or Chipmunk, losing one of them. Nah, I don't even like to get into that dark space, because like, you know me, I'm pretty jovial. I'm pretty happy. But you also remember I was a bouncer at Wet Willie's, amongst many other bouncing jobs I have. So there are two sides to me. I will say that. There is this guy that's smiling right now, and this is the guy I like to have here all the time. But there's a switch. And that other guy, if you get to see that other guy, and I'm not saying it like it's a good thing, and a couple people saw this at Wet Willie's, you don't want to see that other guy, because once I get to that other guy, there's no chill, there's no remorse. I like violence, and I'm going to get everything I need to get out on you. I can tell you one story. There was this time, right? So you remember Wet Willie's on Piedmont?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Okay, so Wet Willie's, we had the inside, we had the outside, we had the patio section. So we closed at, I think, 2:00. I don't know if I got the times, but it was a few years back now. But we'd give you 30 minutes outside to finish your drink, so you didn't have to waste your money, because they were frozen daiquiris for the most part. So there was one guy who came out, and the cup was pretty full. It's me, 2 other bouncers who should not be named, and the guy comes out, and I said, "Hey, brother, your cup's pretty full. You might want to get to work on that. You only got 30 minutes out here. And 30 minutes with one of those frozen daiquiris, that's a job. Without, with your whole head exploding." So he takes a little sip, and he just says, I said, "All right." I said, "I mean, it's up to you, brother. Finish it, don't finish it." He said, "What you gonna do?" I just looked at him. I looked at the bouncers. It's me. There's 2 bouncers to the side of him, and he's face to face with me. He's got 6 people with him. I think 4 guys and 3 girls. He takes another sip. He says, "I asked you what you gonna do. Call the police?" I said, "No, brother, you're gonna call the police." He took one more sip like clockwork. The bounce on the right-hand side, because it was just disrespectful at this point, smacks the cup out of his hand. The bounce on the left-hand side comes across with a right hook right to his jaw. Clean. His brother jumps over the gate. I grab him by his neck, and I just have him up by his neck, and I toss him back over the gate by his neck. And I turn to the rest of the group that was up there. I said, "Somebody else come in here." And I bring up the story. Oh, by the way, he got the hell beat out of him. And this was the time we had to walk the girls across the street to get their cars. So as we're walking the girls across the street, he's leaking out of his head. And he's with the police. I said, "I told you he was going to call the police. It won't be us." But I just say that to say, I don't like that other side of me to come out, because I know how dark and dangerous he is. And he's skilled. I've trained. So I would much rather be very happy and jokey with everybody. Keep it light.
Let's explore that for one moment. Where do you think you got that from? I mean, from New York.
The darkness?
From the gutter. Like, where do you think you got that from?
The darkness, you mean?
Yeah.
Honestly, the only thing I can attribute it to, because I didn't have a rough childhood. We grew up in a neighborhood where we all looked out for each other. We might fight each other, but let another neighborhood come in, and it didn't matter what we had going on. We would all band together and then fight them. and we was beating ass for for a couple years there. But even with that though, it wasn't a lot of fights. But the best guess I have is because I'm always trying to be so positive and so jokey and always trying not to let anything bother me, that a lot of that just gets pent up, and with no outlet, that's a dangerous game we're playing. Because when it comes out, and it takes a lot for me to get to that point.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you get me to that point, then you deserve what you get, because you know me, Sean. I'm just not like that. I'm the most chill dude. Like I'm always about having fun, having a good time, keeping it light, keeping it moving, making sure everybody's okay. For you to bring me all the way out of that space to where I'm even thinking about violence, like you had to do the absolute most. And because I don't have that outlet generally, like now I've started going back to the batting cage. I like baseball, so I can get a lot of aggression out that way. Or work, or working out, I can get a lot of it out that way now too. I didn't have those tools in Georgia at that time, just because of life and just different time restraints. So I always had to be somewhere and doing something. So when it got to that boiling point, if you were there and you brought me to that point, sorry, probably need to apologize to some people, but also, why would you get me that angry? Like you had to work to make me angry.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, not sorry, but that's where that aggression definitely came from. Now, I think I'm a lot more mild. I still have road rage. Hence the Road Rage Chronicles Season 2 coming out. Check that out. We got the Road Rage T-shirts too. We got the hats. So get on and get your apparel. That's all on DarnellMorris.com. Sorry, shameless plug. But aside from road rage, brother, I just be chilling. I'll be so happy and just relaxed. I got my teeth done, so I don't want to be fighting with nobody, because you're not gonna knock these pretty ones out.
Yeah. You don't want to do a Damon Dash now. You don't want the teeth to fall out now, because
No, I can't. These teeth with $30,000, brother. No, no, I don't think so. You knock one tooth out, you gonna see the Hulk.
Oh. Well, one last thing, because I know you got to go soon. Of course, this is the anniversary of 9/11, right? And you are a true diehard New Yorker. I know where I was at when 9/11 happened in 2001. I was in school, and this is once again before I knew what mental health was. I mean, I'm like 1999. We had the Columbine shooting. Then you fast forward to 2001. It goes this thing in New York, and now 2024. It's being honored, but not as much as it used to be. It kind of calmed down, especially in this political time that we're in right now, because everything is focusing on the presidential candidates, Trump and Kamala. But
did you enjoy the debate last night?
We're not gonna get it.
I had such a good time.
It is what it is. But I mean, I'm surprised they didn't mention 9/11 in the debate. But that's a whole different conversation.
Hold on. I got some migrants here trying to eat my cat. He's out of his mind.
Come get these jokes, man. Come get these jokes. DarnellMorris.com. We're gonna get into that.
Back to what you were saying on 9/11. I can remember that.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be in class. I was at Nassau Community College. For whatever reason, probably because I was an F up, I skipped class. And so I was at my uncle's house. I lived in the basement. And my grandmother it was me, my aunt, my grandmother, my uncle as well. My uncle worked on Wall Street. My mother worked 2-3 blocks away from the towers. And grandma came and she just knocked on the door and she said, "Turn on the news." So this was before the first tower even went down. So I'm watching this, and this was before we know it's a terrorist attack now. So I'm just like, wow, how could this happen? Like clockwork. Second plane hits. And so now we're under terror threats, and now everybody's scrambling and whatnot. And the only thing I could think of, because you lost communication with everybody that day here. Like, even if you called 911, it was a busy signal because so many people were calling 911. And so I remember we were in pretty good contact with my uncle. He got out of the city, but nobody could speak to my mother for hours. We didn't know where she was. We didn't know if she was alive, if she was okay. Again, she's 2 blocks away from this thing here, man. So it was a time of high stress and panic. And finally, my mother, she made it out. She's okay. She's good. And so when I ask her about it, she always reflects on the story. And she'll every 9/11, she'll watch the shows till they go off. But she was at a Auburn Pond, which was at the basement level of their building. She worked for New York State Insurance. So as this is all happening, they're trying to get out of the building to get to the subway to go home. As soon as they hit that door, the first tower collapsed. And the level of smoke and debris and dust, she said it was black. You couldn't see anything. So they sheltered in that Auburn Pond for quite some while there. And then after the smoke kind of settled, because I mean, it was really weeks before that smoke settled. There were these Latino guys, the Mexicans, the illegals, if you will, with trucks, and they were giving rides. So she spent $20, hopped on the back of like a 4x4, like a F-150 or something like that.
Right.
And they drove her to the general vicinity of the Bronx. And then once she got to the Bronx where she was living, then she could get on a bus and get home. But that was about 6 or 7 hours of just not knowing where she was. So that was scary, horrific. And I was pissed. I was ready to sign up for the service that day. Thank God I didn't. But that was one of those moments in American history where it's like, okay, forget what you think about the country. It's a time for us to stand together right now.
You was there. You was there when it happened.
Yeah. So it was definitely a tough time, and I try not to watch, the memorial videos, because if I watch one and I get like 2 minutes into it, then I'm sucked in, and I've just lost a day. I've lost a day watching this now.
Yeah. And you're in New York right now. Like, how's it now? Because we're about 24? Is it like the 24th?
23rd year, I believe. 2001, the 23rd year.
Yeah. So how is the mood now, or the energy right now in New York years after?
It's a Wednesday, bro. It's a Wednesday.
Just another Wednesday.
It's just another Wednesday. What I will tell you, though, I never actually went to the towers while they were up, but I have been to the memorial. And I don't care what anybody tells you, man. You go over to that memorial, and there was just an overwhelming, not a stench, but a feeling, an aura of death and tragedy. It is so quiet there. The only thing you really hear there, which is wild in the city, is the waterfalls that they have going down. Now, normally you hear cars honking, sirens. That one area, though, man, it always stands as a tribute, and it is just the saddest thing. I've never been to the concentration camps, but I would have to imagine that it's probably something similar to that, with that level of somber and just quietness, and it's just a very stillness to it. And I went down to the museum, and I mean, it was a tragedy. I know all the conspiracy theories and whatever. It doesn't matter how it happened or why it happened. The fact of the matter is, so many lives were lost. I remember as it was happening, maybe a day or two later, they had ordered like 4,000 body bags, and somebody came up to the man and said, "Cancel that order." He said, "We won't need them." And he said, "Why do you say that?" He said, "Because there's nothing left to find." He said, "The buildings either crushed them." The sad part of people being in that burning building, and all you started to hear was, they said it was even quiet then, and all you started to hear was thuds. And there was just people jumping out the windows because of the heat.
Jeez.
So, I mean, there was at least one miracle story. A guy was like on the 98th floor, and when the building collapsed, the first tower, and he was in the staircase, and he literally just gave it to God, and he rolled the rubble all the way down and made it out. But that's one story. There are 4,000 others that didn't end that way, or 3,236, whatever the number is.
Yeah.
And I mean, those were families just.
I try not to watch those videos because they still have it up on YouTube, and it's so funny that you brought up Howard Stern, because I know that's one of your heroes. And I remember going back and listening to archive audio tapes of Howard Stern
because he was on the air that day.
On the air, and they were still going about their day like nothing didn't happen. They were getting reports of what was happening at the World Center.
Let me tell you something. Howard Stern was the first person. He said he was the first person to call it terrorism before anybody else identified it as that. He was on there. He said, "Okay, one plane." He's like, "Oh, maybe it's a bad day," but it was a clear blue sky. The second plane hit, and Howard Stern was the first one, to my knowledge at least, and I'm pretty sure this is accurate, who said, "We're under attack. This is a terrorist attack." Is it kind of sick though? Because I was on the radio at this time. I was like, man, why couldn't I have been on the radio today? I don't know. The journalist in me at that point, I was just like, not that that's the story you want to cover, but big moments like that, I don't know, in a weird sort of way, I was like, man, I wish I was on the radio so I could help walk people through this.
Oh, this is when, New York radio. Oh my God. Oh my God. New York radio. Jeez.
It was a fun time.
Well, you know what else is going to be a fun time, man? Your comedy shows, man. You got back-to-back comedy shows happening. Speaking of which, in New York, great segue to New York, man. So let the people know about these upcoming comedy shows that you got going on in New York.
Okay, so it's September. So normally on the average month, I probably do about 16 to 20 shows. In September, this month, I'm only doing 2. And I'm only doing 2 for a reason. On the 20th, I will be at Vaughn's. It's just called Vaughn's. It's really a Black-owned business, and it's an event space that they usually have bridal showers, baby showers, stuff like that. And they put out a post talking about they wanted to try out comedy. Can anybody help them out? My ex-girlfriend saw this post, one of my ex-girlfriends, and she sent it to me. So I called right away. And so then I started to break down the business of comedy and how this should work, how it could work, whatever. So, we started vibing. They were good people. And like you said, reading energy, right?
Yeah.
They said, okay, well, how much you charge? And I said, I gave them a discount because I said, you're just trying to get into this. Because they said, if it works, then, we want to try and do this twice a month or something like that. And I'm looking at, okay, twice the big shit. So we worked it out. So September 20th, we're going to have a fantastic show for you at Vaughn's Comedy Club. The tickets are $45, but it's 198-14 Jamaica Avenue, I want to say. I don't have the flyer right in front of me, but it's on my website. It's on Darnell Morris Comedy, everything.
Yeah, okay.
But the $45 includes 2 drinks, 2 real drinks, and an appetizer. So it's a great date night out. We're going to have a bunch of fun. My boy, who's been out of comedy for about 6 or 7 years that I grew up with, Juan the Bouncer, he's headlining. I pulled him out of retirement. We got a bunch of great comedians. Alex Martinez, Michelle, Amber, she's going to be on the show. It's going to be an absolute blast. We got some surprises in that show, too. It's going to be a light show. I'm not even going to get into everything. But when it's a Darnell Morris production, baby, it's a Darnell Morris production. And the second show I have this month, because that was the first room I got. The second room I got, and I say rooms, if you're not familiar with comedy, it's like you can go do shows and then you can have your own room. It's hard to get rooms, though. And the second room was a room that I had originally turned down when I first moved back to New York because I didn't have the network or the confidence, whatever. Will be the 29th of this month at the Whiskey Cellar. It's a battle at the Whiskey Cellar. So I decided to do this thing. They gave me this room.
Nice.
I'm going to have 10 comedians in there. 3 prizes. Third place gets the host at a future venue.
Okay.
Or at the Whiskey Cellar, wherever. The second place gets $50. First place gets $100. Might not sound like much, but in New York City, as opposed to like Atlanta, where you can just go to a room and work out for free, you have to pay for every room you go to, basically, unless you go to Brooklyn to practice your jokes. So I said, you know what? Let's give some comedians back some money. I said, because that's what we're in it for, right? We're in it to get back some money. So come out, bring your best, bring your A game. That's September 29th. That's at 6:30. The one on the 20th, that's a little bit later, so that's at 8 p.m. We're going to chill out and get it real sexy in there for you. Give people time to get off of work. But the 29th, baby, and I'm trying to bring out the best of the best. We have people already coming from 3 different states across the country, as well as some locals. It's going to be a good time, man. I host the show. I'm not even really like doing a full set.
Yeah.
But that's just my way of trying to give back to the community that has given me so much.
Is this the flyer right here?
Yes, it is, sir.
There we go. There we go.
I was right. 198-14 Jamaica Avenue, Vaughns.
Yeah.
Oh, Alex Martinez. Yes.
Yeah, I did.
Say, Cool Ali won't be there. We've changed him. He has an engagement with Keenan Thompson. My guy just Ola, he's gonna come in, man, but he's fire too, and I always love working with that guy. Let me see, Alex Martinez. I met him at Mohegan Sun. Amber, I haven't met yet. She came on for a referral from my guy from Baltimore. Just Ola, he's a New Yorker, and Michelle, she has a podcast called Michelle Mi Gente. And I did that when I first came back from New York, and wanted to bounce her again, childhood friend, since we were like 5 or 6 years old or something like that.
Right.
Man, I bring those stories up just to say that these are just different connections. And I always encourage people to just be nice and be nice. It's free. It's cheap. You don't have to pay for it. Be nice. And then that's how you get connections from Connecticut, Massachusetts, Boston, New York, Vermont. And we're going to have a blast, man. $45 and the freedom. I'm really excited about that, man. The freedom to actually incorporate my ideas into the show, because it's not just a comedy show when you come out to see the Darnell Morris production. You're going to get an actual show. You're going to walk away and be like, yo, that was worth every penny. And that's all I can hope for from any show. And you get a real solid set from me.
Yeah.
I'll give it to you.
Is it free because the parking spaces are not free? Because I know how it is in New York. You got to pay for everything, including the parking.
Well, for the Jamaica spot, the one on the 20th, there's pretty good street parking, so that's free. Okay. The one in the city, go with God, brother. Go with God. You got to take the train and the bus. I don't know what to tell you. I have a parking spot.
Because you're Darnell Morris, of course.
But even with that, I only have a parking spot because I'll get there an hour and a half early.
There you go.
That's it. Otherwise, I don't have a parking spot either, brother.
Hey, man. Hey, it is what it is.
And I'm working on something. I'm working on getting one more room in the Bronx, so we'll see.
Ooh, okay.
But Sean, I want to tell you something before we get out of here, man.
Yes, sir.
I'm so proud of you and the work that you've done. Continue doing the man that you are and continue to be. It has been an absolute pleasure. I'm so thankful to God that our paths cross. Everything happens for a reason. And to keep seeing you thrive, not just survive, but thrive through different trials and tribulations, and to just keep pushing and keep working. And you never put your head down. I've never seen you put your head down. It's always, all right, I might be going through something, but the work is the work, and you believe in the work that you're doing. And man, it's impressive to watch, and I really am blessed to have you in my circle. You're my guy. So anytime you call me for anything, you got me. You're gonna get me crying, son. You're gonna get me crying.
This is a safe space, and this is why I wanted you to be the first guest. Because actually, you are the first guest on Therapy Ain't No Joke, and then this is why I wanted you to be the first guest on the show. Because
didn't you just have Kiana on?
She couldn't make it.
Oh, okay. Thank God. Shout out to Kiana Dancy, though. I love you so, Kiana.
Shout out to Kiana Dancy, Dr. Kiana Dancy. She got a show coming up this weekend at City Winery in Atlanta, Georgia.
No. We're not promoting none of her stuff if she couldn't make it. Stop it.
that is literally a shameless plug. But shout out to the Dr. Kiana Dancy.
City Winery where? In Atlanta?
Atlanta, yeah.
Okay, because we got one up here too. So
right, yeah, but it's gonna be at City Winery Atlanta, right? Yeah, in Atlanta this weekend.
Go check her out, man. She's really funny.
She is, and she got a story.
And she hot.
Story. Yeah.
And she's smoking hot too. Kiana, if you see this baby, holler at me. She probably make too much money for me now. Secondly, comedians don't date each other.
Oh no, that's a golden rule. Isn't that like a golden rule?
It's the worst idea. I know a couple of comedians that dated. It is the worst. It is the worst. First of all, forget the traveling and never seeing each other. It becomes a problem when one becomes funnier than the other. Oh, just stab me in the chest.
That's why I was like, my ideal comedian couple would be Bruce and Monique. That's always been like my dream couple, dream comedian couple.
That's hilarious.
Bruce.
I don't know, but they two big asses. I don't know how they're gonna get it on. But I am happy for Monique. Shout out to Monique because Monique actually is my people's. I just saw her in Deliverance, the movie on Netflix.
Deliverance, yeah.
So she's in another movie as well. So I'm glad to see her back out there getting this acting work. Let's go, Monique. Let's go.
Yeah, man. We want to see Monique in some more projects. But
and she was really good in it, so I love it. Let's go.
Yeah,
there's enough money in comedy for everybody, baby.
Yeah, I heard a lot of great reviews.
Deliverance was awesome. If you haven't seen it yet.
No, I haven't seen it yet.
Bro, check that out as soon as you can. That's a really good movie.
I just got my Roku remote in
the mail,
and I got free Netflix for the next few days until they shut it down again. So I'm definitely
check it out, man. The kids are really good in that. I can't remember the white lady's name that's in it.
Wait. Close.
Yeah, she's awesome in it. And Adria Day, the girl who sings "Rise Up,"
yeah,
she's the leading actress in it. She murders that role, murders it.
Yeah, I've heard nothing but great reviews about it. Shouts to Lee Daniels. You know what? This has been a great summer. Just a side note. I know it doesn't have anything to do with therapy, but just a side note. Great, big shouts to Lee Daniels, Tyler Perry, and Will Packer. This has been their summer. I got to give credit to all three of them. They've
been doing things.
And you know what? You know what the coincidence, Darnell? All three of them have been doing it via streaming, online. You have Fight Night.
They're changing the algorithm.
Yes.
They're changing the algorithm. Also, not that I have anything solid, but next level, Darnell. You might start hearing about me doing some things.
Is Darnell, speaking of Netflix, is Darnell Morris gonna come with his own Netflix comedy special? Because
eventually, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about sitcoms. So I got two things in the works that, God willing, they come to fruition, but you might see me on network TV.
Hey, yeah, okay.
So let's hopefully the blessings keep on coming. I'll just keep working for it.
This is definitely an exclusive on Therapy Ain't No Joke. This is something that Darnell has not shared on any other platform other than.
I didn't even tell you before we got on here. So, but I like to speak things into existence as well. So
yeah.
See, that's where the teeth come in.
Don't drop the teeth. Don't drop the teeth like Damon Dash said. Don't drop the teeth. But listen, on real man, I wanted you to be one of the first guests on the show because I've seen the grind that you have put in both radio and in the comedy circuit. And I consider you as one of the few, not one of the many, but one of the few genuine people in this industry. We've all came under Gene Ross that you mentioned earlier. And
Gene Ross the boss, baby.
Yeah, and anybody that have came under Gene Ross and I had the opportunity and the honor to work with lets me know that they are always going to be in my corner if they ever need something, and vice versa. Because like I say, we know how this business is. We know how this industry is. It's all about
That was a special class under her. You got DJ Sturgis, you got Liz 2 times doing big things.
Yeah.
Even Kalia, Kalisha. Where's my baby? Where is she? Did you get her on the line? What happened with that? I'll call her after the show. But I mean, Gene Ross, it was like a boot camp for success.
It was, yeah. I mean, you look at it in retrospect, it was. Yeah.
She was tough, but she was fair.
She was, and she wasn't just gonna put just anybody on the air. Like,
no.
You had to work for it.
Yes, no, I got kicked off the mic many a time and out of the studio as well. So when she gave me my break though, it was with Robert Patillo. That was the only time. That was the first time she stopped giving me crap about being on air. But she would give me crap about doing Rashad's show and being on air there. And I said, well, how come you don't give me crap about being on Robert's show? She said, because on that show, y'all energy, y'all working together, she said, that's magic. And I can feel that through the radio. She said, so that's a space for you where I was like, okay, you want to speak here? Go for it. So she did give opportunities. You just have to figure out where you fit in.
Right. Exactly. And just as a side note, another side note, me and Darnell, we worked on a couple of projects together. We worked on the pilot episode to Unemployment Check.
Unemployment Check?
Yeah, and you did a show on WAOK, speaking of which, on WAOK called Jury's Still Out. We did that a few times. So, yeah, we've been in multiple spaces with each other.
Yeah, we're going to be Lee Daniels and Tyler Perry in a second. We keep working.
Hey, man. Well, which one are you? Are you Tyler Perry or Lee Daniels?
Well, I wore the wig, so I guess I'll be Tyler.
There you go. There you go. Go get those jokes from DarnellMorris.com. For more information, go to DarnellMorris.com, including all of his upcoming events. You can find out more information from there at DarnellMorris.com. Anything you want to leave to the listeners before we wrap up and go?
Man, all I say is this: stay blessed and bless others, and just keep working, keep believing. Anything you think you want to do, I'm trying to tell you guys right now, it's achievable. I promise you it's achievable. It might be scary, it might be hard, but the rewards, you just keep, and I'm not talking about money, I'm talking about interpersonally, spiritually.
Absolutely.
Go for what you want. You only live one time. People keep acting like we're going to live forever. We're not. We're just not. I don't know anybody that's lived forever. And go for what you want to go for and be the best version of you. It doesn't mean you have to be an actor or a singer. Maybe you're the best scientist. Go do that and be the best version of that. But discover who you are and take this time seriously, man. And have fun.
Yeah. Have fun.
That's it. Have fun.
Yeah, have fun. Even if we are living in some weird times.
Weird, dark times. Yeah. I said, I'll leave with this. I was in I was in Baltimore last weekend doing a show. And I said, it's a weird time. I said, everybody either hates the Jews or they hate Palestinians or old white men. I said, there's never been a better time to be a black man in America, baby. The heat is off of us.
You know, I really want to say some things, but I was like, man, I cannot do it on the platform. I cannot. I'm just going to leave it to comedians like Darnell Morris and many others that's going to come on. Therapy ain't no joke, man. But I am so humble and honored to have you on my platform.
Well, thank you.
We gotta bring you back on, man. I feel like this is like a Shannon Sharp Club Shay type.
Yo, it was good, and it was a long time too. But for you, I really don't care. Like my lady asked me, she said, "Well, how long is the interview?" I said, "Yo, it's Sean, so I don't know. This could go any 10 types of ways." I said, "I don't care," but I said, as long as Sean is willing to have me, I'm willing to be there, baby.
Yeah.
Because we didn't even get into some real stories now. This was light work, y'all.
Oh man, yeah. You want to wait towards the end of this show.
Yes, that's the teaser. That's the teaser to bringing me back.
Absolutely, man. And big shouts to Rhonda. She said this has been a great show to us. So I really
Oh, who Rhonda? Hey, Rhonda. Hey, baby. How you doing? Valentine's Day is around the corner, but you can get this Christmas gift now.
We're gonna talk about that off the air.
Yeah. Rhonda the man.
All right, appreciate it, Darnell Morris. Thank you so much. DarnellMorris.com is the website. You all go check them out and get those tickets, man. Get those tickets in advance. All right, and appreciate it, Darnell Morris. Thank you so much for coming on. Therapy ain't no joke. The very first.
Thank you.
Yes,
my man, 100 grand, Sean Garvey.
Thank you so much, man. And to give you all a tease for next week's show, tune in next week. We're gonna have the dating commentator Trey Amazing, along with Lonnie Hayes, therapist. We're gonna talk about why do people get into the dating scene unhealed?
They're horny. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, brother. Let me get out of here.
You see why we got to get ready to close out the show, but that's going to be next week's topic question. Why do people get into the dating scene unhealed? So you all make sure you tune in for that. But please email me your comments, future topic questions for the show, all that and more to the Mental Space Show at gmail.com. Got to give a shout out to Darnell Morris for being our very first guest on Therapy Ain't No Joke. All right, so we're getting ready to get up out of here. And once again, for those that need the information to NAMI, that's the National Alliance for Mental Illness. Let me blow it up just a little bit more so you can see it there. Contact the National Alliance for Mental Illness, NAMI helpline at 1-800-950-NAMI. That's 1-800-950-6264, or you can send them an email to info@nami.org. And their hours are from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, but you can send them an email, info@nami.org. And if you and somebody or somebody that you know are in a mental health crisis, please dial the Crisis and Suicide Lifeline number 988. That's 988. Pretty easy to remember, okay? If you or someone you know is facing a mental health crisis, so keep that number locked in your phone, all right? Until then, this is Sean Garvey and my homeboy Darnell Morris signing out.
Peace.
Therapy ain't no joke. We will see you all next Wednesday night, same time, 7 to 9 p.m. on Honey. See you. Peace. And once again, this show is dedicated to the ones that we've lost over the past few days and few weeks, including the people we lost in the entertainment industry. We're going to bring that picture back up. Rest in power to James Earl Jones, Batman Scoop, Rich Homie Quan, and Frankie Beverly. Talk to you all next week.